Congratulations, you have secured the funding for your startup, for your SaaS startup. And now it is the most exciting part. It's time to build and scale it. And I know that you are a very talented marketer and a salesperson. I mean, you've secured the funding, you know what you're doing. The real question here is, how do we build the product itself? In today's video, I want to share the most common problems entrepreneurs share when they secure the funding and now it's time to scale SaaS business. Let's get down to it. When I speak with entrepreneurs who secured the funding for the startup, and I have a privilege to do so on my podcast or just by connecting with them, one of the most common challenges they share with me is, Vlad, I cannot find good people. There are not good developers left out there, or they're not tech CTOs out there. The problem for them is that it's not the scarcity problem. It's the scarcity mindset problem. You see, it's not about not having enough developers in the world or not having like tech talent. It's about their ability to attract the good talent and retain it here, right? What's the reason for people to join you in the first place? And when they do, what's the reason for them to stay? This is the main problem that really have 80% of entrepreneurs I speak to when they're just beginning have. And today I want to share with you some of the tips and tricks on how we can resolve them. The tip number one is having a compelling enough vision and actually explaining this vision to your potential team members. Now, when you're closing investors, right, not only you're speaking about your numbers, but you're also speaking about your why. Because in the end of the day, numbers won't matter if you don't believe in the idea enough to push through the hardships and the challenges, right? So you know exactly why you're doing this. The problem I see entrepreneurs sometimes make is they don't communicate this to their team members. So when they are hiring, they're just explaining, hey, there's going to be an interesting startup, it's going to be high tech, who are going to do this, but why, right? You want to surround yourself with people with a similar mindset. So when the tough times come, you're staying there, they're also not leaving your ship, they're in because they believe in this. So the first tip I want to give you is, when you're looking for team members to start a company, be it developers, be it tech leads, whoever's involved in building the product, they also buy into your vision. Tip number two, have a very particular structure for your team mapped out. So when you invite new team members, you know exactly how to scale this from 1 person to 5, from 5 to 10, from 10 to 20, and so on and so forth. I know when it's in the beginning, it's quite easy. Really, all you need is a couple of tech people around you and you as a visionary leading them. You can have 4 direct reports, there's no problem with that. But let's say you need to scale. Now you need to develop the product 2 times faster. So you need 2 times the capacity. No problem, I will just invite another 4 people, right? Where is the point where it becomes a problem? Well, I believe up to 10 people might be manageable in the company, but once you exceed those like 2 figures, it's going to be a challenge. Simply because, let's say your communications with people who have direct report to you take like 20 minutes. You multiply it by 10 and you end up with 200 minutes daily. It's more than 3 hours. It's basically half the working day you can spend just answering people's questions. So here's where I'm going with this. When you have a structure, let's say when you have the development department, when you have project management department, design department, QA, and you have it all orchestrated in a way in your organizational chart that is basically like scalable. So for each 5 team and developer department, you need 1 person from PM, 1 person from QA, 1 person from design, and you can multiply those like almost like packs of people, right, and combine them under you. This is what creates scalability. So I'll just give you an example. Let's say ClickFunnels. You know what ClickFunnels is, right? It started with original 4 people, and I have a privilege to know one of them in person and actually know this story firsthand. When you start at this scale, the system doesn't matter much. But in the long term, like let's rewind it to our time, they have 500 employees, 500 team members. Just imagine for a second what kind of a system it needs to have to work at 4 people and work at 500 people. This requires some skills. So if you don't have a proper system, make sure to check out my framework for scalable SaaS team structure. I will put a link in the comments if it will be ready by this time, or just reach out to me on LinkedIn and I will share it with you if it's in the making. The tip number 3 is eventually you need to have a technical officer, a chief technical officer in your company to make technology-related decisions. Just to make sure you don't have this decision-making process, someone else with the knowledge owns it. The reason for that is when you just start, it's easy because it doesn't require too much. But when you scale, it's about scalability, security, it's about make sure the code is maintainable, all the small technical details that you really don't need to put your mind around. What you need to focus on is how we can market, how we can reach new untapped audiences, how we can sell more, how we can convert, right? You cannot combine the two because you need to have a laser beam focus. So you eventually will need to have a decision maker on your team. Now, it can be a partner, it can be just a team member. What I suggest doing is you take your time to find this person, because just a couple of wrong decisions on their side can create quite a lot of setbacks for your company. So make sure, first of all, you trust the person on their expertise. And the second, even more important, you trust them on their why, because it needs to be aligned with yours. Because if their why is just to build a system for the sake of building this, just to boast in a portfolio, at some point you might have like different directions to go by. But if they buy into your vision, if they know that this is the right time and the right place, you gotta stick with them. You can of course offer equity, you can some vesting schedule, or you can just have them an employee. But I usually recommend equity because it makes them own the piece of the company. So on their mind, they're wired to stay there for as long as humanly possible. If you enjoyed this video, make sure to like it and subscribe to my YouTube channel, or you can connect with me on LinkedIn. I'm currently interviewing SaaS startup founders on my podcast. So if you're interested to share your story with others, make sure to connect me and we'll set time for it. Until next time, I'll see you in my next video.